Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music, and I'm back with another Gizmo Sunday. And this Sunday's Gizmo is Fracture Sounds Brass Band Soloists. We've got 5 different soloists deeply sampled with legato, vibrato and non-vibrato, sustain, vibrato and non-vibrato, great tenutos, staccatos. Listen, I'm burying the lead because they've got this amazing new legato engine that they've really clearly worked a lot on. It's got all the good stuff that Fracture Sounds is known for, plus some additional things. I got 2 pieces to play you. Let's jump in. So the north of England is brass band heaven, right? It's like there's a long tradition of this small brass ensemble sound. I think Christmas music, right? But it goes much further than that. We've got great players up there, and they've obviously, have good relationships with some very good players. These are beautifully recorded sample sets. And I have to say, probably the most playable and realistic sounding solo mellow brass sounds I've ever heard. And these are definitely mellow brass. We've got 2 high instruments like trumpets, the cornets. There's a soprano cornet, which is like an octave higher than the regular cornet, and then Fluegelhorn for all you Chuck Mangione fans out there. And then in the lower register, the tenor horn, which is a valve horn, kind of in the range of, say, a trombone, if you want to compare it to something in your mind. And then euphonium, which is kind of like a baby tuba, right? It's sort of a lap horn, and it has some pretty low notes. It's well to the left of the keyboard. So you've got a full range of instrument sounds. Now, I've done a couple of pieces. One is a very standard arrangement of Londonderry Air, Oh Danny Boy. And the second one is a kind of a more modern John Adams inspired propulsive piece. But listen to both. Here's that beautiful legato engine. And then just for comparison, we're going to switch off the legato and go to staccato sounds and a very propulsive piece of music. Well, there's so much to admire about this library. Let's take a quick look at the GUI. Like all the Fracture Sounds instruments, you've got sort of a basic set of controls accessible right at the front end. This is a Kontakt instrument. I'm running it in Kontakt 8, the full version, but it runs in Kontakt Player, of course. Each of these is a key selectable sample set. So a legato, vibrato. I'm not using any dynamic control, but if I reach for my dynamic slider, I've got a beautiful expressive horn. The staccatos and tenutos are fantastic, and you heard how velocity sensitive they were. I can select them with key switches, moving up through sample sets just by very simply selecting a new key. This is incredibly useful. There's a fantastic, exhaustive breakdown on Fracture Sound's YouTube page, and if you're interested in this, encourage you to watch the whole thing. I'm not using any of the internal reverb here. I just have kind of a general reverb sound. But like Fracture Sound's other libraries, we've got this beautiful perspective slider, which uses close, mid, and far mic setups to give us a different perspective on each individual sound. And it is effective. I could put on sustain with vibrato and play whole chords if I'd like. Each of these sample sets, Fluegelhorn, Coronet, Soprano Coronet, which is an amazing high brass sound, are all super, super useful. Let's say a few things about this new legato. Now, you can, if you wish, switch to a classic legato sound, but I've set it up in smart mode for everything. And as you can see, the latency is set for 200 milliseconds. That's a lot of look ahead, and it means as I'm playing right now, I have a lot of latency in my playing. But if I'd like, I could take it all the way down to nothing, and play staccato. And just really just have it right under my fingertips. Once I've recorded that, I can then slip the latency back up. If this was legato, for instance, I would then, get all the advantages of the way notes move from one thing to another. And that latency works across all the samples for each tone, each instrument. And that means that I can just offset it in my DAW. Each of the instruments has been recorded in situ. That means sort of in the place where they would sit in an ensemble, which means the cornet's over here on the left. And that's great. You can set up a custom position or center stereo. The custom position is great because what it does is it uses convolution modeling to place the horn within the sound field. I love just having this perspective slider. There's something just great about being able to play around with that. When you record music with a brass band, you're going to be using tons of controller data. So if we looked down here at my controller data, say modulation, which is what's controlling dynamics, you'll see, let's go back here. Here's my mod data for the Danny Boy version, right? You see how everything is up and down all over the place, right? There's a lot going on. It's very expressive. We love that, right? When you're tracking something for horns, for winds, make sure to keep in mind that the poor wind player needs to breathe. Don't forget to leave a little break here and there for them to breathe. It's come so far, hasn't it? Being able to record realistic sounding solo brass parts. I can't say that I've ever felt like I've gotten this close before. The library's on sale for a short amount of time, and that'll go up to its regular price. Fracture Sounds is really moving forward in a great way with their libraries. These are very useful, satisfying musical sounds. I'm going to really look for opportunities to use especially the low brass to broaden and thicken all my arrangements. And the Flugelhorn, Cornet, and Soprano Coronet are all completely usable as solo lead instruments. Before we go, let's just play through both of those pieces again. Listen for choices like, did I use vibrato or non-vibrato for lines? I found that if I used vibrato for everything, it just was too much. And then in the short section, is it all tenuto? Is it all staccato? Mixing it up tends to give us a little more sort of dynamic range. Well, I hope that was useful. Like and subscribe and ding the bell to be notified when I do my videos. And I'll see you next time.